Welcome to Cultural Conversations with the Mississippi State University Libraries. I'm your host, Fred Smith. My guest today is Dr. Luke Lampton. And Dr. Lampton is the editor of the Journal of the Mississippi State Medical Association. He's past chairman of the Board of Health, and for the Journal he's been editor for over 20 years, and as chairman he was there from 2007 to 2017. Welcome.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about a new book there really isn't a history of medicine in Mississippi that's been done, but Dr. Lampton has got a new book. If you'll tell us what the title is.
It's entitled Images in Mississippi Medicine, and it's a photographic history of medicine in Mississippi. We initially began this as a project of the Mississippi State Medical Association in celebrating the 150th meeting of its House of Delegates. I began to get together old photographs that I had been running in the Journal of the Mississippi State Medical Association, which I've edited. And starting in about 2002, I would run an old photographic image that I would find, and I would tell its history. And I started out to gather up all of those images from 2002 with the assistance of Karen Evers, who is the managing editor of the Journal. And as we started to put it together, we wanted a more comprehensive look at medicine, and so we put forth the effort to really fill in the holes and the gaps in the history of medicine in the state. And I think the product that we came up with is an important step forward in sort of providing a skeleton for the history of medicine in the state. And I think it also provides ready access to the lay reader as well as the scholar a connection to the history of medicine in the state. And the history of medicine in the state is a very dramatic and important story, and it's often overlooked and forgotten.
Well, it's a gorgeous book, and I'm real excited to get a chance to take a look at it with the audience. One of the connections that's in this book that's important to Mississippi State is Dr. David Ferries. Can you tell us a little bit about Dr. Ferries?
Yes, Dr. David Lewis Ferries. And in fact, you and the staff at Mitchell Library helped me obtain many interesting photographic and graphic pieces of artwork and history to include in the book. But Dr. Ferries was easily one of the most important Mississippians in the 19th century.
Now, he's a name that probably won't mean much to folks today, but he was extremely significant.
I don't know if we can zoom in on a photograph that was provided by the archives here at MSU, and Fred and his helpers at the archives dug this up. I think it used to hang in historic Lee Hall.
I had not seen it before, and it was bubble wrapped, and we did find it up in what we call the black hole, which is where we store a lot of the portraits. And it was a massive. It must be 5 feet by 5 feet. It was almost as tall as me, and absolutely gorgeous portrait of Dr. Ferries. And there is another portrait of him, I think, hanging in the Hall of Mississippi. I'm not sure exactly what they call it.
The Hall of Fame for Mississippi.
Hall of Fame down at the archives.
And I think his importance, the massive portrait really speaks to how loved he was by students at Mississippi State, and also to his importance in the founding of the university here. His history, he was born in 1817 in West Feliciana Parish, across the state line from Woodville, and he was extraordinarily passionate about learning and academics and scholarship, even at a young age. It was said that he studied solar phenomenon to such a degree that it blinded him at an early age. And it
took
a
year
teenager?
Or so,
as a teenager.
Wow.
And from his observations of the sun, he blinded himself. But he recovered from that. He is said to have obtained the first Bachelor of Arts that was given in Louisiana, from Louisiana College. in Jackson, Louisiana. He later obtained an MD from Tulane, which was then the University of New Orleans School of Medicine. He always maintained, though, a fire about academics and scholarship, and I think he was recruited to be a professor at Louisiana College. He founded two colleges in Wilkinson County. They were both called Newton Institute, and he had a great respect for the scientist Newton. And in fact, the town that they were in, he named Newtonia.
I have not heard of Newtonia.
In the 1840s, he led the state's efforts to found a common school system in the state. So the public school system, elementary and high school school system in the state was basically something that he pushed and got through in 1846 in the administration of A.G. Brown as governor. Governor Brown said that Dr. Ferries was the motivating force behind the legislation. And he later, as a member of the Grange after the Civil War, became very interested in the creation of an agricultural and mechanical college in the state. And in fact, he was on the board of selection, and he was also on the original board of trustees for what would become Mississippi State. He had been appointed by Governor Stone, and he helped select Starkville as the site. And the records seem to indicate that he preferred a more southern site, and he was very interested in placing Mississippi A&M in Macomb,
A little closer to his area.
But what happened in 1878 was was a medical disaster, was the yellow fever epidemic. And those that are familiar with the early history of this institution realize that, it ended up in Starkville largely because Starkville was spared exposure in the yellow fever epidemic of 1878, and it was considered a safe site. And all of the other final sites were devastated in the 1878 epidemic. So that's a point where medicine and disease actually influenced the location of this institution.
So he was extremely important in the early. He was one of the early professors.
He was basically the first veterinary professor that we had. I think his official title was he was professor of horticulture, botany, and animal and vegetable physiology. And that was his title. And he was also the college physician. He was known for an extraordinarily long beard, which you see in the images of him. And his lectures were known to be very lengthy and erudite, I think is what a student remembered about him. And he was here for the institution's first decade. And his book, the Farmer's Book of Grasses, which I think you have.
I actually have a copy
extraordinarily
of that
rare.
from special collections, if we can get a picture of that.
But that was the first book that was published by a faculty member of what would become Mississippi State.
And I wasn't aware of that until yesterday. So I knew it was a prize and extremely rare, but to find out that this was actually the first book by a faculty member, it's going to have an even bigger place when we do show and tell for folks in the library. We tried out the 1499 oldest book in the library, but this is going to be one that's going to be used a lot more because of the importance of with the writers. We have had a lot of writers come through different versions of the school, but this is the first.
Well, and I think that what you see in Dr. Ferries was somebody that not only had the passion and that understood the importance of this institution and its creation, but also had the scholarship to really move it forward in publishing a highly respected book that was recognized throughout the South and the nation.
Well, you've got a few other things that have come out of special collections that you have listed and pictured in your book. If we can get a picture of some of those. Sort of interesting titles, not necessarily something everybody would want to read, but...
One on dishorning, published in 1889. One on Japanese clover, which focuses on hay grasses. one that focuses on diseases of sheep and calves. He was also extraordinarily critical for the medical community, and it's often forgotten by the Mississippi State community that he was on the first board of health of the state. So while he was helping create this institution, he was serving, he had been appointed in 1877 to the Board of Health for the state of Mississippi, and he oversaw 2 epidemics which occurred, the yellow fever epidemic, and there was actually a significant smallpox epidemic which occurred at that time.
Didn't he write something in that first year's journal?
Yeah, he wrote, the great thing about the first Board of Health was they published a collection of essays by physicians, which is a very rare thing, and but it makes it a wonderful book. And this is in the midst of the yellow fever epidemic. The state physicians were publishing a collection of medical scholarship. And the great jewel of that is his survey of medical flora of Mississippi. And he reviewed all of the flora of the state and over 700 plants and that he focused on their medical use. And it was said that he did this great study during the Civil War when he was a physician down in Wilkinson County. And
he wasn't serving in the war, though.
He did not serve. He had no commission in the Confederacy, but he cared for Port Hudson was just south of there, and there were a lot of there was actually a wayside hospital in Woodville, and he was taking care of some soldiers, Southern soldiers there, and they had no pharmaceuticals at all. And so he was exploring varied medical uses for the plants of Mississippi because of the Union blockade. There were no pharmaceuticals that he could use.
No. Was that ever reprinted, or is that the only way?
No, that's the only place that you can get it is in. I think it's in research libraries. That's about the only place.
Well, we do have a copy in special collections, so that's an exciting thing. Another thing we can pull out and show exactly how important Dr. Ferries was. And I think after today, that when people see about this, that there'll be much more interest in him, and he won't be completely forgotten like it seems like he has been. Well, thanks for bringing your book. It's been great to hear about Dr. Ferries with our our personal connection with him with the library and special collections, and this is a wonderful book. Can you tell people where they can get this?
Well, currently it's you can call the Mississippi State Medical Association in Ridgeland, I guess in Jackson, and you can obtain it on their website, and it should be in bookstores by Christmas.
Very good. Thanks for being here.